Rome est dans l'apostasie. C'est pas des paroles, c'est pas des mots en l'air que je vous dis, c'est la vérité. Rome est dans l'apostasie. On ne peut plus avoir confiance dans ce monde-là. Il a quitté l'Église, on quitté l'Église, il quitte l'Église.
We now present, in the form of a catechism, some of the Archbishop's statements favoring Sede-vacantism. What are we to think of the Vatican II errors and the institution that teaches them? The Church which affirms such errors is both schismatic and heretical. This conciliar Church is therefore not Catholic. If a pope adheres to this new conciliar Church, what is the effect? To whatever extent pope, bishops, priests, or faithful adhere to this new Church, they separate themselves from the Catholic Church. Is it possible that even the Pope himself could break with the Church? To whatever extent the Pope departed from tradition, he would become schismatic. He would breach with the Church. Theologians such as Saint Bellarmine, Cajetan, Cardinal Journet, and many others have studied this possibility. So it is not something inconceivable. Are we certain that Paul VI is a true Pope? While we are certain that the faith the Church has taught for 20 centuries cannot contain error, we are much further from absolute certitude that the Pope is truly Pope. Is it possible that Paul VI might not have even been a true Pope in the first place? Heresy, schism, ipso facto excommunication, invalidity of election are so many reasons why a Pope might in fact never have been Pope, or might no longer be one. What situation would Catholics be in? In this obviously very exceptional case, the Church would be in a situation similar to that which prevails after the death of a pontiff. What happens to a pope who fails in transmitting the truth? It seems inconceivable that a successor of Peter could fail in some way to transmit the truth which he must transmit. For he cannot, without as it were disappearing from the papal line, not transmit what the popes have always transmitted. Would he continue to be pope? If it happened that the pope was no longer the servant of truth, he would no longer be pope. Since religious liberty is, as you say, Monseigneur, heresy, and John Paul teaches it, shouldn't we draw the obvious conclusion? I would not say that the Pope is not the Pope, but neither would I say that you cannot say the Pope is not the Pope. Is it conceivable, Monseigneur, that you yourself could become a Sedevacantist one day? You know, for some time, many people, the Sedevacantists, have been saying there is no more Pope. But I think that for me, it was not yet the time to say that, because it was not sure, it was not evident. If John Paul II continues his course of action, what will be the consequences? These recent acts of the Pope and bishops, with Protestants, animists, and Jews, are they not an active participation in non-Catholic worship, as explained by Canon Nas on Canon 1258.1? In which case, I cannot see how it is possible to say that the Pope is not suspect of heresy, and if he continues, he is a heretic, a public heretic. That is the teaching of the Church. What conclusions might you draw from John Paul's words and deeds? It is possible we may be obliged to believe this Pope is not Pope. For 20 years, Monsignor de Castro Meyer and I preferred to wait. But Monsignor, has the Pope left the Catholic Church? It is impossible for Rome to remain indefinitely outside tradition. It's impossible. For the moment they are in rupture with their predecessors, this is impossible. They are no longer in the Catholic Church. It would be possible, of course, to assemble a collection of quotes entitled Marcel Lefebvre Anti-Sedevacantist or Marcel Lefebvre Recognize and Resistor, and one would find an equal amount of material. He was, in fact, all of these at one time or another. But the words we've quoted from Marcel Lefebvre Sede-vacantist will suffice for our one purpose here: to shoot the hot air out of the Society of St. Pius X's cynical attempt through Messrs. Salsa and Cisco to demonize Sedevacantism and to paint those who adhere to it as the spawn of Luther. Don't believe it, folks. For Archbishop Lefebvre, Sedevacantism was a tenable position for a Catholic to hold. He initially laid down many of the principles that led us to it. And at several points during the life of his apostolate, he openly suggested that he himself, though but a retired bishop, might declare the Holy See vacant. And note something else. Archbishop Lefebvre certainly didn't hint that before doing so, he'd need to wait for the College of Cardinals or a General Council of Bishops to conduct a trial proving the crime of heresy, a thesis to which Messrs. Salsa and Cisco devote 100 pages of their wooden and indignant prose. The Archbishop, having been a missionary, was an eminently practical man. Whatever objections he may have voiced against Sedevacantism at various times, this artificial rigmarole certainly wasn't one of them. Had he become convinced that his duty as a Catholic priest and bishop for the good of souls was to declare the Holy See vacant, rest assured it would have been lock and load.
And in the age of Bergoglio, the Pope who says there is no Catholic God, who countenances divorce, who approves contraceptives, what do you think Archbishop Lefebvre would be telling us about Bergoglio? Would it be to heed Salsa and Cisco's solemn warning to hold our fire until a college of cheesehead, balloon-carrying, sax-playing, jeans-clad modernist cardinals convene a general council of bishops against him? And then to wait for a public judgment against Bergoglio from a council of men like these? Are you kidding?
Those of us who actually knew Archbishop Lefebvre have no doubt whatsoever about what he would say now, because he already said it nearly 30 years ago.
Rome has lost the faith, my dear friends. Rome is in apostasy. These are not words in the air, it is the truth. Rome is in apostasy. They have left the church. This is sure, sure, sure.
How right you were then, Monsignor. How right you still are now.